Hi everyone, it's Jen here for the question period. I've had quite a few people in the last couple days reaching out to me asking what's really going on or what are my thoughts about the current events and the state of the world that we're in right now. And to be honest, I'm having a really hard time answering this question for a couple of reasons. And first off, just note that I have some children in the background, so there's going to be some noise. Um, and I'm not going to apologize for that because that's the reality that we're in right now. And so many families and so many working parents are in that reality. And so we're doing the best that we can. But the reason that I struggle with this question in particular is because I see a lot of things that are happening, but it's really difficult to explain them. Sometimes it's hard to be able to see some of the truths, we'll say, or some of the energies that are happening behind the veil, and know what's really going on, but not having the words to articulate them, or being aware that perhaps a lot of people aren't ready to see that yet, that it's so painful that if I do share some of that information, people are just unwilling to accept it. So I will share some things with you, and the rest will come later. Some of it is just important. Some of it's not necessary for everybody to know. Some of it is, we all have our own roles to play in this journey, in this evolution, and so we don't need to know everything. It's like any kind of master plan that's in play. So here's first off, when this all first happened, I had shared that there is a battle going on between the energies of light and dark. So you could say good versus evil. I mean, all of that is really simplified. But in the end, we're still in it. It's not over. It's not just COVID that's related. Everything that is happening is interrelated right now. We're in this really intense, significant battle for humanity and for our freedom. And there's a lot of different strategies at play, and it's much bigger and much deeper than what we're being shown on through the media. And so there's a real need for us to remain sovereign in who we are and to really stay connected and tuned in to what we are feeling as an individual, what feels right to me, what feels good to me, what feels like right action, what feels like truth. This is the time for us to really activate our intuitive skills, our intuitive knowing, and to honor that. If something doesn't feel good, then it might not be good. And there is a lot, in my opinion, of manipulation of human consciousness and human thoughts right now. And we really need to pay attention to it. We really need to pay attention to it, because when we start looking at some of the dark energies and the agendas that they play and how they work, a lot of it is based in symbolism. And we know, in the spiritual community, if we want to call it that, there's a lot of people who know that we have the right to free will. And free will is something that is very dear to my heart, because free will means that you have the ability to choose. You choose how you think, you choose how you feel, you choose how you live, because you are free. And it's your choice to make those decisions, to have those feelings. And when we lose our free will, that means that we're controlled. And there are loopholes in how to gain control of somebody's will. And they're sneaky. They can be very sneaky. So they can be through our thoughts in a lot of ways. So we don't even realize that we're being pulled into scenarios where we are voluntarily being pulled into energies that, if we knew they existed, we wouldn't support. But because of the strategic measures that are being played out right now, we're unaware that we may be playing an agenda that we in our hearts would not support. But here's the interesting thing, is that your body always knows. So if you feel that discomfort as you're doing things, if you're feeling like, I don't know if this is the right thing for me to do, or I'm feeling pressured to do it, or I feel guilty if I don't do it, stop and pause and reflect, and dig in a little deeper to those feelings. Because what we're working through essentially is we're trying to move humanity from this third dimensional density to fifth dimensional density. But in order to get there, we have to cross through the fourth. And that's where we are right now. And while there's some good things in the fourth, that is where there's a lot of strength in terms of the negative forces. They reside in the fourth. And so in order for us to move through this fourth density, we are just churning up all of the karma. We're turning it all up individually, collectively. We are seeing that evil exists in our world, and we are no longer able to ignore it, which is a good thing. You know, I've been saying for the last year that there is darkness and there is evil, and there's some of us that need to see it so that we can bring an end to it. And what I find interesting is I think that at large, you know, we're doing that together as humanity. The challenge with it, though, is that those dark energies are very smart and very strategic. And so it can become very difficult to know what information you're receiving is the truth. And so I'm going to plant the seed out there that sometimes what the truth looks like is not actually the truth. It may actually be a mirage, right? And so we really take that time to be still, to be quiet, to tune in to how does it feel, so that you don't get confused, so that you don't get pulled in a direction that you don't want to. And if you do, don't be hard on yourself. Don't have guilt if that happens either, because these energies are really smart. And so it will happen. And it's okay. That's part of your learning. That's part of our growth. And we will take those instances and we'll become stronger because of it. So I want you to ask questions. Start asking questions, because things are not adding up for us. Why are we encouraging massive amounts of people to go out in public, and yet we still have so many small business owners who can't open? There's so many spaces. Our kids still can't go to the playgrounds, but we can go in mass groups where there is violence happening, and that's safe. Pay attention to how you feel. This is especially for Canadians. Pay attention to how you feel about the US and Americans. And if you know some Americans, I want you to ask yourself if the general thoughts, the general feel we have about the US aligns with the individuals that you know that are Americans. Because there is, in my opinion, a mass campaign, and you can call it propaganda, you can call it mind control, you can call it whatever you want. But Canadians are being convinced that Americans are bad, that the US is worse off than us, that we are lucky to be in Canada. Yeah, maybe in some instances there's some truth to that. But there's an energy there, in my opinion, that is concerning, because it is pitting Canadians against another country, another culture, another group of people. It's not gonna help. It's not gonna help the world become a better place, in my opinion. Okay. So really pay attention to these things, because we already know that media, music, movies, all of those things, there's a couple things that we know about them. One is that they can be used to manipulate the subconscious mind and even the conscious mind. They can be used for manipulative purposes. And that manipulation can be positive or negative. So, you know, it can be used for good and it can be used for evil. It can go either way. We also know that the dark forces in some ways need to share what they're going to do in advance, because that allows some of the ideas and emotions to be planted as seeds into our psyche. And so if you are watching the media, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, or you're watching movies or you're listening to music, listen with that question in mind of what might this be predicting for our future? Is it going to take us in a direction that's positive, or maybe not? And really start to notice some of the patterns and the themes that are present in the entertainment that we watch, because it's pretty amazing when you sit back. A lot of what's happening has been predicted, and it's been shown in our movies. It's been shown in our novels, even in our literature. And so, how does that happen? You know, do we just have a few people in the arts community that are really attuned, which is possible, totally possible, or is there some other strategy going on? So I'm going to leave it at that in terms of what's going on. Is there's a real battle, and my guides have been telling me it's not over yet. There's been some wins and there's been some losses, and it coincides a lot with the emotions that we're feeling too, because everybody's having ups and downs. A lot of people this week are talking about having difficulty sleeping. So we're connected to all of that. We're connected to it, whether we're conscious of it or not, whether we can see it or not, whether we know it or not, doesn't matter. We're still connected energetically. And a lot of us can feel that there's something off, that there's something that's not being said, that's not being heard. And on that note as well, you know, with all of the riots and everything else that is happening around the world, those are important issues that do need to be brought up. And that is part of the karmic healing that humanity is going through, in my opinion. But also pay attention, because there are other big things that are happening right now, especially if you look in the courts in the US. And pay attention to some of the things that are being challenged and questioned, and laws that are being passed that aren't getting media attention. And ask yourself if there might be a coincidence in that timing with some of that. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But it's really important for each one of us to find our truth, to really dig in and explore what are the possibilities, how far and how much can my mind handle at a time. Because I believe we're going to be seeing more information coming out, and we're going to be learning. I mean, what I've learned is heavy to handle sometimes, and it's hard to handle sometimes, but I've had more time to sit with it. Some of the information that might come forward, or what we may learn about our reality, and how humanity has been utilized throughout history, you know, it may be really hard to sit with, and it may be really hard to see, and it may be a struggle for us. But we also need to remember that this is all done. How do I say this? There's a large group of people who are working for the higher good of humanity. There are people who are in powerful positions, I believe, I feel from what I've seen, who are working to make changes, because yeah, there are problems in the world. And yes, there are a lot of people suffering. And as we go through this suffering, we are becoming extremely aware. We are getting clarity like we have never had before on all the injustices that are playing out for so many people around the world right now. And with that awareness becomes the opportunity for us to take down these systems that weren't working and rebuild them in a way that works more effectively, more efficiently, that works in a way that is better for humanity in general, and the higher good of everybody, not just specific groups of individuals. So that needs to happen. And there are people who are working on it on that level, but there are also people at that level who are working against them, that really have a desire to keep things as they are. And on that note, we also have people who are going out and who are doing peaceful protests. And that's amazing, because we have people who are trying to get awareness out to more individuals, to share information with people so that they can uncover their own truth and learn some of the other stuff that is out there that isn't being widely shared, but is available in some respects. And they are also experiencing the polarity, those peaceful protesters, of the violence that is happening. And it's a need for us to question, you know, are they the same people? Or is it different groups that are causing that? Because there is a desire to make things right in the world, but there is also desire to divide us. And when a group is divided, then they can be conquered more easily. And so we have to be really mindful right now of not pointing fingers at each other and not dividing as a human collective, because we are so powerful. We have so much power within each one of us. We don't even know yet how much we can do as humans, because we have been taught to ignore or think that it's crazy what is possible for us. And we are going to see, as people start to really become sovereign and really become free, you are going to see some powerful people rise up. And you must know that every individual human has power and has magic and has gifts that we don't even know yet, we haven't even discovered yet. And so that leads me to another group of people, is that we also have people who are, in this battle, shall we say, who you don't see on the front lines. They're not protesting. They're not even posting on social media. They don't even, I mean, a lot of them are probably unemployed right now, as far as what I've seen. And they're the ones who are working on the energetic side. And they are spending as much energy as they can to remain calm, to remain in places of peace and love. And you might say that that's a waste of time, they're not doing anything. That's very important right now, because we need people to anchor those energies that are most beneficial for humanity, which is peace and love and unity and openness and truthfulness. We need that energy to sink in to as many bodies as possible. We needed to sink it in to the plants and into the earth. We need to connect the sun and the earth together so that we can create this bridge, this matrix, this web of light across the planet, so that we can allow everybody to come into those feelings of peace and love, and at the same time, you have on the other side, the other polarity, the darkness that is working to not only prevent those anchors of light to be here, but are also trying to anchor in other energies. So, I mean, there's a battle for our thoughts, there's a battle for the earth, there's a battle for how the energies on the planet are utilized. Here's what I do know. There are more of us, there are more humans, and there are more people of, we'll call it the light for lack of better terms, but when I say the light, that means people who just want peace and love on the planet. I mean, most people, when you talk to them, what do they want? They want to be left alone so they can live their life, so they can experience joy, so that they can have time to experience the world, so that they can really do what they were meant to do here when they came to the earth. And that's really what we want. That's fifth dimensional. When we get to that fifth dimension, we're no longer slaves to jobs. We're no longer, working our butts off night and day just trying to survive. We are able to actually truly be free, and not freedom in what we're told is freedom, but actual freedom. And think about that for a moment. Do you even know what freedom feels like? Pause, take some time in the next week and close your eyes and ask your higher self to show you what freedom feels like. Not the concept that our mind holds as to what freedom is, because freedom does not relate to money. does not relate to dollars and cents at all. But our mind, we have been taught that it is often associated with that. Okay, I want you to feel freedom. Imagine what it feels like to fly. Imagine what it feels like to wake up in the morning and be able to do whatever you want without having to worry about your survival, without having to worry about what people say or think about you, with just knowing that you're safe and knowing that you can do whatever you want, whatever your heart desires, whatever's going to bring you, your friends, your family, the most joy on that day. I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute. This is where we want to head. This is what we're fighting for. This is what we're fighting for. We are fighting for our freedom, our truest freedom, our soul's freedom. That is what's happening. And so we have to be so mindful and so grounded right now to be able to feel our own grief, to feel our anger, to feel our frustration, to feel our sadness, to feel whatever it is that we as an individual are feeling. This is part of our evolution to move through these densities, to come out into a place where we can experience our individual freedom. And at the same time, we are also experiencing the emotion that the world is going through. We are feeling the pain, the suffering, the love, the joy. We're feeling all of that together because we're all experiencing it together. We're learning and we're growing from it together. As we do that, we need to hug each other. We need to love each other. We need to support each other. We need to allow those emotions to flow and just be released without directing them at each other. You know, if we see someone who is suffering, don't try to make them feel better. Don't try to focus them on 2021, that's going to be a different experience. It might be, but hug them. Whether that's in person or digital, doesn't matter. But hug them, embrace them in that, in our humanness, and say, I feel you. I cry with you. I'm angry with you. And give the moment for that emotion to move. Because when our emotions get pent up, when our emotions get suppressed, when we push them down, when we try to label and put each other into boxes, that's when we start to direct it out in ways that are not going to bring us together. We are missing the mark if we are fighting each other. We are missing the mark. If we can come together, if we can see this darkness that we're truly trying to battle, we have way more power. We have way more people to begin with, but we have more power in us. And you know what makes us more powerful is if we have felt our grief, we have felt our anger, we have felt that frustration, we have felt it all. And we know exactly why we're feeling it. If we can get to that point, nothing will stop us. Nothing will stop us because we'll know what we're fighting for. We'll know who we're fighting against. And it's not each other. So a lot of people are asking me right now what to do. What do I do right now? And it's different for everybody. The biggest thing is that we all need to go through our own process of having our own emotions, of tuning into what truth is for us, of navigating our role to play within it. And so some of us may feel called to really get engaged online and really be engaged in the social media aspects of things. And some of us may feel the exact opposite of that they've moved through a process already where they can see how that energy might have a negative impact on them. Both are right. Both are okay. We don't need to tell each other what to do. We really don't. But we need to be able to observe and witness that someone who is processing anger and is sharing things with others and trying to push a viewpoint forward, that is part of their process. And we need to celebrate that they're seeing something that is wanting them to be engaged collectively with humanity, that is wanting them to stand up for their fellow brothers and sisters, and allow them to go through that motion. You embrace them, you hug them, you let them know that you still love them, even if you disagree with their perspective because you have seen something else. I know that if you are even on that other, on a different side, or you're, I don't want to say further along, but perhaps you're in a different space, and you can hold the awareness of the pain and suffering that a collective is seeing or a group of individuals is seeing, and yet you can also hold not the value in that, but where it may get us in the future, that the healing of that wound in a collective, that the anger and the rising up of that energy, when directed in the right way, can bring us to a space where we are united down the road. And we don't need to push or accelerate someone to get from point A to point B. Because if we try to accelerate it, if we try to tell somebody that they're wrong, for example, all we're going to do is push them further into the arms of the darkness. What we need to do is say, I see you, I hear you, I love you. I may not agree with what you say because I'm seeing other things, but I can completely understand where you are right now and why you believe what you do. And what that does is it opens a door so that as they receive new information, as their truth and reality opens and, maybe reaches a point of more anger or more despair, they know they have somebody. They know that they have you that will sit with them and listen and hear what they have to say and hold their hand and hug them or whatever it is that they might need in that process. So my friends, I really want to encourage you to step inside of yourself for a little while right now. We need as many people as we can to know exactly what we're feeling and why we're feeling it. And we need to be able to take those feelings and let them pour out in a healthy way that isn't going to cause harm or danger to anybody else, and allow them to have the space and time to be transmuted into a space of love. And sometimes on the journey to love and forgiveness, there's a space of neutrality, of being neutral. And there's some energies right now that want us to believe that being neutral is the equivalent of being evil, and it is not. It is about being able to see the evil, being able to see the love, to see the two polarities, to find the justification and love between those two spaces, and to be able to hold a bridge between the two. Really listen to your heart and your soul right now and know that you are good. Know that humanity is good. People are innately good. Don't let anybody fool you otherwise. We are good people. Everybody is good people. We will stand beside each other, and we will rise up together as a collective. I feel what I see on the other side is that the battle is here. It is here. But I also see, when I close my eyes and I go into meditation, I see huge waves of love and light And as cliche as that sounds, because I realize how cliche it is, but I literally see light around the planet, and I literally feel love around the planet when I tune in. And I know, without having to see the news, without having to see social media, that there are billions of people on this planet who want to create a world that is so much better than what we have seen so far. There are so many people who are so aware of the power of our humanity, of our collective ability, and we are ready to work together. And there is nothing that's going to stop us. We are going to do it. We are going to do it. But know that, yeah, we may suffer along the way, but it's worth it. You know, when we've talked about the journey of the soul and the evolution of the soul, the idea that it is a straight line up, like climbing the ladder. Just a moment, please. Girls. Thank you. It is a myth. The reality of it is that it is a wave. We go up and down. We have periods of high, we have periods of low. And that's what we're in right now, but we're seeing the most severe highs and the most severe lows. But know that we aren't all low at the same time. When some of us are low, some of us are high, and we are balancing each other out. It's like, you know, playing any kind of sports game where you have one line go on, they take a break, and the next line goes on. And that's what's happening behind the scenes. So if you really want to help out, what you need to do right now is you need to find some time to meditate. And if you don't meditate as you believe meditation is, this is what you can do. Take 2 minutes in the morning and just sit and be quiet and just breathe. Go for a walk. Don't listen to music. Don't talk. Just be quiet. Go lay on your grass. Go lay in the sun. Paint your house. Paint your deck. Do anything that allows you to have a few moments of quiet where there's no interference. There's no music, there's no phone, there's no talking, there's no TV, there's nothing in the background. Maybe some birds, maybe some nature sounds, that's okay, but allow some quiet, because it is in those quiet moments that is when you allow yourself to connect to the divine energy that allows you to connect to the love and the peace and the calm that is working so hard to spread across this planet and counteract the chaos and the hate and the fear. And if you find yourselves falling into any of those emotions of chaos, hate, fear, worry, you need to pause and get outside. And if you can't get outside, just pause and be quiet. Turn everything off. Turn it all off and allow yourself to connect to the true entertainment, to the true source of information. And you will start getting answers. You will start to know what actions you need to take. You will start to feel your power. You will start to know the resonance of truth, because truth has a resonance to it. It has an energy to it. It is felt differently in the body than a lie. And I did another video on that where you can do an exercise to feel truth and feel a lie. It's important for us to really know that, to use our bodies as the tools that they are. With that being said, I wish everybody love. I hope that you're all doing the very best that you can given the circumstances that you've been handed. And please hold love for everybody else around you. Please hold love even for the people that you don't know, for the people who you may feel like are unnecessarily complaining or whining, the people who are causing unnecessary pain and suffering. Hold love for all of them too. Hold love for as many people as you can. And for the people that you are not yet ready to hold love for, forgive yourself for that. And know that others will hold love for them until you are ready to do so. You know, if we all take a few people and love them, it won't take long for us to cover this planet. It really won't. Okay, much love to everybody. Please take care. We'll see you soon.